Welcome back to episode 32 of The Unknown. My name is Michael Volpe. I report from Chicago, Illinois, which is in Cook County, Illinois. And I write at michaelvolpe.substack.com. And my podcast partner, as always, Richard or Rick or Rich, or some people call you Dickie Luthmann, who reports from near Fort Myers, Florida, which is Lee County, named after the hard luck. No, it wasn't really hard luck. Definitely loser of the U.S. Civil War, Robert Edward Lee, and you report at Luthmann.substack.com. It's always spelled the same, but I'm going to spell it anyway, Luthmann, two N's.substack.com. And the last few weeks we've talked about Ukraine. There's not that much happening. There was some peace talks that led to some sort of, not really a ceasefire. So there's not much more to say. Maybe we'll pick it up next week. However, huge news came out on Monday, and you, being how you are, will defend the administration blindly. They, in an act of recklessness, I tell you, shared war plans with a journalist because they accidentally put him on a signal group. And you will tell us why this is not reckless, but wonderful. Is that right?
Not that it's wonderful. Well, it is wonderful, actually, in many ways, because
should I play the video?
Well, if you want, play it. Sure. This is Trump yesterday.
He's on with Greg Kelly at Newsmax. So here we
go. What it was, we believe, is somebody that was on the line with permission, somebody that was with Mike Waltz, worked for Mike Waltz at a lower level, had, I guess, Goldberg's number, or called through the app, and somehow this guy ended up on the call. Now, it wasn't classified, as I understand it. There was no classified information. There was no problem, and the attack was a tremendous success. So I can only go by what I've been told. I wasn't involved in it, but I was told by, and the other people weren't involved at all. But I feel very comfortable, actually.
All right. He doesn't know.
Number one, the operation was a tremendous success, right? That's number one. Okay. Number two, look, keep it there. That is the strategic importance that we're talking about here. The Suez Canal. We're talking about that area of the world, and 40% of the trade that goes through there is from Germany. 3% is from the United States, right? Or 40% is from Europe. Why isn't Germany? Why isn't France? Why aren't those countries defending and doing this? This was, I believe,
that's what they were debating in the signal.
You're in media, okay, and this looks more like a controlled leak than anything. I think that this
is a controlled leak.
Maybe it is intentionally. Why would you put one of the greatest Trump haters, one of the greatest peddlers of the hoax, the Russia hoax?
Because his initials were the same as initials of a guy that was probably supposed to be on. That's why.
Well, no, this guy that's on there, okay. It looks to me has all the hallmarks of controlled intelligence. And so what Trump has done is, and if you look inside the chat that they released today, the New York Times did and the Atlantic, they have it out there. And one of the things that Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance was talking about was, well, maybe we should hold off on the Houthi attack until we can convince the rest of the world, about the strategic importance of what we're doing. And Miller's talks about, well, we need to get something for it. Now, within a matter of 2 or 3 news cycles, the entire message is out that Europe owes America big time, and that the fact that the strategic global importance of that area has been highlighted better than they could have done in a month or two worth of messaging. So they took out the enemy, and they communicated through the media to everybody about the importance of this geopolitical area, the Suez Canal, the Straits of Hormuz, all the different things with the Iranian proxies in Yemen. So I think that this is a home run. Number one. Number two, look at the left. The left is in total meltdown mode, because this is the only blemish that Trump has had in the past 2 months, are probably the greatest start to any administration in American history. And they parade Susan Rice out there. Susan Rice, and if you want to go to my article, I parade out.
Wait, hold on. Before we go to your article, here is the New York Times article that you were referring to, and what the guy if this wasn't classified, it should have been classified. He was giving a lot of details of future plans, including times and specific targets, not specific targets, but the target weapon specifically.
Future times,
Did not,
a couple of hours
Mr.
later.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Hexas did not post all the details of the war plans and did not identify the precise targets the planes were going to hit, other than to say they were going after a target terrorist. But Mr. Hexas posted the precise time that various waves of planes would take off, information that is typically highly classified. If it wasn't classified, it should have been classified. This is a disaster. You're coping and you're trying to spin, but go ahead. Keep spinning.
I'm not spinning here. The war plans that they're talking about aren't war plans. Those are not what are war plans. War plans are detailed actual things. That would not meet the definition of the Department of Defense in a court of law or anywhere else of what a war plan is. I've read the entire conversation back and forth. Were there sensitive materials? Yeah, sure. There was sensitive detail. It wasn't materials because there were no documents, but it was details, sure.
All right.
The President of the United States and
one of the people, hold on. One of the people on this signal call is an undercover CIA agent. The only reason we don't know that person's name is because Goldberg won't release it at the behest of the CIA. You're telling me that's not classified? We
don't know. I don't know. I don't know, and you don't know, because maybe that person, the plan was to out him anyway. Maybe he's out of the theater, and it doesn't matter if he's unmasked at this point because he's going to go to CIA in some type of role for the administration. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what I'm not going to second guess the commander in chief and the defense secretary.
So you have no problem war planning on signal as opposed to in a SCIF, which is where it's supposed to be.
That is the brilliance here, because what is signal? John Ratcliffe said it yesterday in front of Congress, or Monday in front of Congress. It is a Biden-era technology. It was put in during the Biden era, and Trump wanted it out. Trump said it already. He'd rather have them with lead between everybody inside a SCIF or inside a room. That's where he'd rather have them. And they're putting in new technology now. They're taking signal out. All it took was this one little incident to get signal out of everywhere that's there. So brilliant masterstroke by Trump. Rather than go in and have the left, who loved signal up until Saturday when this thing got leaked, and say we want to take signal out, and then they say, well, Trump's getting rid of signal. Now the left hates signal, and the left is attacking signal, and Trump can get rid of signal and put in a better system for what we need, a secure system for what we need without this chance. Now, there's also the issue, Michael. I don't know if you've read it or not, that whether or not the Atlantic and Goldberg was catfishing the cabinet secretaries and the members of the national security team. There are unethical people, and they could be at the Atlantic, it could be other people that put out, these different names that look like people that are supposed to be, and that might be maybe something that happened with.
That's why you don't use signal for this.
If it's not a situation where this was a controlled leak, Michael, then this may be aggravated identity theft on behalf of the Atlantic. The Atlantic might be subject to criminal liability for aggravated identity theft, to try to steal classified.
When are you going to be done with your rant? This is ridiculous.
Okay.
They screwed up. They are trying to cover up. This is a disaster. You do not use signal for classified discussions. That's what a SCIF is for. These guys are amateurs. Everyone on this call should have been fired. Instead, Trump is doubling down, and they will drag this out for as long as they can because they can't admit that they screwed up badly. Go ahead.
You can't use signal for classified. The Biden said you could. I guess Trump's crazy for getting rid of the Biden.
He did it first. I got you. We're in third grade.
Biden says it's great, and Biden says it's that. And the left loved it until 2 days ago. The left loved signal until 2 days ago. The Human Rights Commission event, the gala, Jasmine Crockett was talking about how much she loves the signal. The left loved it until 2 days ago when they said, okay, we can't like signal now because of the Trump stuff. We got to say this, that, and the other thing about it. That's the hypocrisy of the left right here. between the left media and everything else. This is nothing. This is actually the best thing that could have happened because you get rid of a bad system in Signal that has flaws to it, which we see, and we put Europe on notice that they got to pay their fair share of the geopolitical stuff. And it shows that the left have nothing. If this is what the left is advancing as their greatest assault and attack against Trump in the last 2 months, they've got nothing. They're sad. They're a wayward party, the Democratic Party. They got nothing. And it actually let them do what they do. This is nothing burger. It's not going to go anywhere. You're parading Susan Rice out there with Jen Psaki on MSNBC. It's a joke. The woman doesn't want to talk about classified documents because then you have to talk about the acid wash Hillary Clinton server, and then you got to talk about Biden and his Corvette when he backs it in. And you see boxes of classified stuff in his garage in Delaware, which are much greater security breaches. There's no classified documents in that Signal chat that they're talking about. There's nothing there that even comes remotely close to what Hillary Clinton or what Joe Biden did with respect to classified documents. This is a nothing burger. Everybody knows it, Michael.
It's not a nothing burger. There was classified information. There was a classified CIA officer on the Signal app. This is a total disaster. You're all coping. You're all pretending like it's a nothing burger. And if this happened to Democrats, you'd be jumping on it like crazy. All right. What is the name of the judge you want impeached? It's like Boasberg or something?
Boasberg.
Okay. So tell me if I am right. President Trump grabbed some, I don't know, about 30 maybe alleged members of a very vicious gang. What is the name of the gang?
Tren de Aragua, you got MS-13, they were delivering them.
Right. And he's I got it. And he sent them to El Salvador where they are in a very, very tight prison. Am I right? And what authority did he use?
He used his authority under Article 2 of the Constitution and also the Alien Enemies Act of 1790.
Alien Enemies Act. What sort of due process did the folks who were grabbed have? Could they go in front of a judge and say they are not members of this gang?
What sort of due process should alien enemies of America have, Michael?
They should have plenty of due process. I direct you to Luthmann versus Watkins, and this is a Supreme Court case from 1948, under authority of the Aliens Enemy Act of 1798. Which empowers the president whenever there is a, quote, declared war between the United States and any foreign country to provide removal of alien enemies from the United States. What war has been declared by Congress?
Well, there was a war on terror declared after 9/11. Under that. Their name terror.
There was no war.
Michael, that's the authority.
War has been declared by Congress?
War on terror.
That is not a declared war. It was an authorization for use of military force. Number one,
Michael, I guess that
a declared war between the United States and any foreign country. I am looking at the United States Supreme Court. You agree that this is case law. They are saying that in order to use the Alien Enemy Act, we have to have a, quote, declared war between the United States and any foreign country. What war has Congress declared between the United States and any foreign country?
Well, if you want to, before we get to that, this is from
No. Okay. Hey, you're non-responsive. Come on.
I'll give you a response.
I'm asking you a question. What war has Congress declared between the United States and any foreign country?
Terror, the war on terror. I'm calling that.
What foreign country did they declare a war on?
Under the Bush doctrine, since 1948, things changed. Things happened to change, and terrorism.
They've declared no war. That means they can't use the Aliens Enemies Act.
Michael, the nation-state threat that was present in 1798 is very different based on war and terrorism, number one. Number two, you're giving me Supreme Court opinion, right, based on older understanding of geopolitical situations, right, and with the court that substantially has the same makeup as court.
Let me ask you I got it. If the United States Supreme Court examined the question of the proper use of Alien Enemies Act, as it did in 1948, how come this judge can't do the same thing?
because the fact of the matter is that the Article 2 power, you're getting to the commander-in-chief's powers. You're telling him to turn a plane around. You're telling him to put the lives of the military at risk. Now, this is not a due process case. So where's the habeas corpus you're talking about? This is the ACLU running into court, filing something to enjoin. This is not a petition for habeas corpus the same way that case was.
What evidence does the president have that any of the people who were on that plane are now in El Salvador were members of this gang?
Oh, they have plenty of evidence. They were based.
What is it?
Well, it's been proffered already to the court, and Tom Holman actually spoke about this in one of my articles. I put it in there about all of the investigations that have been ongoing by the Department of Homeland Security and I think the 18 other intelligence gathering law enforcement entities in the executive branch that have put together information about these people. So it's up to the Secretary of State, and it's up to the President of the United States ultimately to make the determination based upon the Article 2 powers of the President. It's not something for the court. It's not about due process. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's about protection of the homeland, and it's Article 2 powers of the President.
We don't know what evidence they have because these guys have had no due process. This is a law that is only supposed to be used when we declare war in another country. We have not declared that war. He is misusing that law. The judge is right.
Well, that's a legal question, Mike. It's a legal question.
I agree. In my opinion,
but then again, there's part of it's a non-justiciable legal issue too. Do you agree that the president is the commander-in-chief under Article 2? Mm-hmm. Do you agree that a federal court judge cannot direct troop movements or military movements?
I agree that he cannot direct troop movements or military movements. The judge is right to examine it, and the judge is right to say that that these guys deserve due process, and the judge is right to question whether or not he's misusing the law. He shouldn't have turned the plane around. He should have said, I don't have any more jurisdiction over that plane, given that it's over international waters. However, in general, I think the judge is right. I think that you're also using emotional arguments like, what due process did Lake and Riley have? Well, none of these guys killed Lake and Riley. 1, 2, that person should go to jail, not be deported.
It's not about an emotional argument. It's about, listen, maybe you're right. Maybe this does have to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. Right? Maybe it does.
It starts with this judge. That's correct. He's not the final word, but the idea that he doesn't have any jurisdiction to determine whether or not a law is being used properly, when we saw a U.S. Supreme Court to determine whether this law was being used properly, is patently absurd. And you guys want to impeach him for doing his job.
I think he should be impeached. He's a political hack. But the fact of the matter is, it's a political question more than anything else. It doesn't even get onto the lane of being a legal issue. It's a political question, and it's a separation of powers issue for the other branches of government. If you want to talk about the legal issues of the strictures of the Alien Enemies Act, that's something different. But I think under his Article 2 powers of remove, he can remove these people. I think he has plenty of power to do it.
All right. Okay. So we have an Elon Files segment. Every week we talk about something related to Elon Musk because he's in the news so much, we have to. So this is from The Nation. So their spin is that what we're talking about is absolutely horrible. However, the article goes on to say there is a hot button Wisconsin Supreme Court race between this lady, Susan Crawford, who is akin to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and this guy, Brad Schimmel, who is akin to Antonin Scalia. However, unlike the U.S. Supreme Court in Wisconsin, it is an election. And what the article goes on to detail is that I don't know how much money Musk has dropped into this race, but no, right there, $13.2 million. He wipes his butt with $13.2 million. So a drop in the bucket. And so this is another harbinger race. A lot of people are looking at it, and I think basically my metaphor is right. Depending on who you like more, Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Antonin Scalia, that's who you're going to like, Crawford or the other guy, Schimmel. But what I'll point out is he continues to try to be a kingmaker anywhere he can. He's tried to be a kingmaker internationally with AfD in Germany, with the Reform Party in England. He's tried to be a kingmaker nationally by backing Trump. Now he's going to the state level. I will repeat it. The power that he exerts is unlike any that I think the world has ever seen, including entrepreneurs and moguls of the past, just like him, whether it be Henry Ford, Vanderbilt, Edison, you name it. They never exerted power to this degree, the way he's doing it. And, he's not successful every single time. AfD didn't get really any more votes, but Trump won. We'll see if this helps, but he's not afraid to flex his financial muscle, of which he has plenty. Your thoughts?
I don't think that he's any different than George Soros. I think that Soros is beaten to the punch. I think Soros, to that extent, got a lot more interested with this a few more years ago and realized that these state and local races are the fertile ground to really, affect the type of change that you want. We get going after in the process. I think Soros is brilliant. I'm not going to say that he's not brilliant. He was brilliant with what he did, whether you agree with it politically or not. And I think that Elon's seeing that brilliance and realizing, you know what, I can do this on an even greater level, given my greater reach and greater depth and greater ability to actually do this in a coordinated way. The man actually is a better manager than Soros, I believe. And I believe he can manage a political program a lot better than him. So that's what we're seeing here. I think that's all we're seeing. We're seeing is the next iteration of the next great guy to go in and do what he wants to do politically. Now, there are other people on the left that are trying to do this too. He just seems to be the most prolific and most visible. That's just what it
on the right. On the right. Yeah, I agree. And I should have thought of Soros. I don't know how much, but does Soros get involved in elections globally, or does he only get involved in the U.S.? Yeah. So then I guess he is. And Soros was a huge kingmaker. Kim Foxx, who until recently was the Cook County State's attorney, was one of the progressive state's attorneys. Sometimes they're called DAs, district attorneys, that he backed, and a lot of them won, and they were largely disasters. Most of them have been knocked out or didn't run for re-election. But I think you're right. And by the way, when people point this out, when the left points this out, not every time, but often when the left points this out, at least on Twitter or X, as he calls it, Musk will make an allusion to Soros. So I think you're right. I think that he was looking at what Soros was doing, and he said, I can do that, and I can do it better. This is the next step. We'll watch this race. It's a harbinger race. And so Scalia versus Ginsburg part 2, I guess you'd say.
Or the ghosts of Antonin versus the ghosts of Ruth.
Right. All right. Anything else you wanted to add on current events?
No, I think it's going to be interesting. I think we'll be having a different conversation about the Signal chat next week, if we're having one of them.
All right. We've got the What the Hales segment. We're going to watch an absolutely remarkable video. But before that, we want to sum up what's happening. This is Jeremy Hales. I call him JN because he constantly claims arrests are coming and they're not coming. This is his girlfriend. I think her nickname is George. And this is a live they did and then erased it. And when you watch it, you'll see why they erased it. We started following this case following a lawsuit he filed against his neighbors, claiming that they put up defamatory signs. Everyone agrees the signs are defamatory. The dispute is whether they put it up. We have examined the affidavits of his friends who picked up the signs. They are specious. His lawsuit appears to be frivolous. In fact, it's so frivolous that we're going to talk about another frivolous lawsuit. We're going to try to find other frivolous lawsuits to talk about. This is expanded to a second lawsuit. He also, and his neighbors are John Cook and Michelle Preston. His attorney is Randall Sprockets Shackett. And Cook and Preston are being represented by Bruce Matskin, who is from Massachusetts. The lawsuit is in Florida. I think it's called Pro Hoc. He, through proper means.
This
Right.
time.
Right. So here he's going to, I don't want to, I'll preview it a little bit. He's going to, in a fiery rant, proclaim that he's going to sue his girlfriend's sister. And listen, we're going to do this a little differently. I'll stop it when I have something to say. And if you want me to stop it, just tell me to stop it and I'll stop it. And we'll interject as we go along. So here we go.
As we get into defamation, and I'm gonna preface this. I understand this may be difficult for George to hear with family relations, and regardless, it's still going to be said because family relation, no family relation, it doesn't matter. If a person says
so before
something
he gets
defaming,
into that, I have no clue what he's talking about. I haven't heard any recording, so I can't comment on it because I haven't heard it for myself.
All right, so what they're talking about is another YouTuber, I think his name is Guapo, had her sister on, and she alleged that he molested her child. I don't know if it's a male or a female. He strongly denies it. There is no evidence that I'm aware of besides this woman saying it, and I should say, parents alleging abuse is the weakest form of abuse for a variety of reasons. But so he is threatening to sue her because she alleged that obviously
Not Jeremy Hales.
Right. Now, keep in mind, this guy, is there a world record for number of people you sue at the same time? Because he looks like he's trying to break it. All right, so let's keep going.
So family means nothing in regards to defamation.
Did you hear him? Family means nothing.
Family means nothing in regards to defamation.
Words to live by.
The law, it's black and white. You're either guilty or not guilty. And so for those who are going, well, Paolo Guano is doing this and Paolo Guano is talking, and I get it. We're getting so many emails and we're getting all this. Listen, here's the issue, okay? Number one, Pile of Guano doing this just added another charge into his lawsuit. Number two, he has now added her sister into the lawsuit. Now they're going to have conspiracy of defamation, just like.
All right. So if this guy Guapo or Guano or whatever his name is, if he interviews her and she makes that allegation, is that conspiracy of defamation?
I guess in Jeremy's mind, then that's all that really matters, right?
It sounds like Jeremy may be misquoting the law.
Like we have in the federal suit here. So what they have both done has created even a major issue. Now I want to be very clear that this individual is very toxic and has been since day one, since I met her.
Okay. He's talking about her sister.
He's pulling somebody else.
Saying her sister is toxic. He's going on video to say, here's your girlfriend's sister is toxic. You don't see the irony?
He's calling the kettle black, Mike. Pot is calling the kettle black. Calling somebody else toxic. I love it.
All right.
Okay. And I don't want this person in my life. And she has every opportunity to do whatever she wants with her in her life. As a matter of fact, we just spent 6 months away from each other over the summer. You have your own car, you have your own house, you could go and do and talk, and you have your own phone. You do whatever you want. And if you've ever been with an Arabic woman, you're going to understand. You have no control. They have all the control.
All right. First of all, she might be of Arabic descent, but she either was born here or was very young when she came here. So this is a stereotype. It's a ridiculous stereotype. He's on record calling a Jewish lawyer, Bruce Matzkin, Deuce Foreskin. Now he's making stereotypes about Arabic women. He's made anti-gay statements. You guys don't see this?
Mike, I'm going to say something very controversial right now. I've heard that George is one of the most red-blooded Americans that there is. I heard that George loves Western movies more than anything else, the Great American Western. And I've heard that George has been cocked more times than John Wayne's rifle. That's what I've heard. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but she's a great American.
Right. And for the record, there was a Twitter post where someone referred to George and I asked, who's George? So now the Pro Hales, you don't even know what his girlfriend's name is. And obviously George is her nickname. You guys, if you think that's an effective attack, that's, you got an IQ of 50. So let's keep listening.
Okay, so let's be very clear. If something is said and it's defamatory, it's going to court. So now what he has done, Pile of Guano has added another charge in his court case. Now, the court case is coming. So I'll already share with you, Randy's already been accepted in Ohio, pro hoc vici. We already.
All right. So this is interesting. Randy is Randall Shockett, who he's referring to. That's the lawyer he has in Florida. Now, this guy supposedly has plenty of money. Why would he need to use, why wouldn't he go to an Ohio defamation lawyer where it would be easier and more convenient and probably more strategic? Why would he need this Florida lawyer to go pro hoc whatever in Ohio?
Because it's very hard to co-opt an attorney. And he's already co-opted one, and why would he have to put in the effort to co-opt another one? Basically, that's what it comes down to. How do you find a guy like Randy Shockett? You can't find many. He's a sleazebag lawyer. And once a sleazebag finds a sleazebag lawyer, they stick with him. I know from my former life as a sleazebag lawyer.
I agree 100%. Let's keep watching.
All set and ready to go. But this just added a whole nother layer to it. I haven't even heard it all yet. What I can tell you, it is 100% false. And you should be asking, if something was said, where is the proof? If somebody is saying, and this is what I've heard so far, oh, he did this, he did that, and no cops were called, no reports were made, where is the proof? It's going to court. I don't care who you are. There is no more grace. There is no, and this is an individual who has tried to destroy me from day one. The toxicity is insane to me. And I won't tolerate it in my life at all. At all. And I don't understand if it's jealousy because you spend more time with me.
All right. Were you watching her face?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Does she look comfortable as he's verbally assaulting her sister?
Oh, my God. I feel so sorry for this woman. I really do. I really genuinely feel sorry. Maybe she's trapped. Maybe like if you pan out with the camera, she'll be chained. She's chained to one of those barrels or something. That's the only reason why she's still on the show.
I don't know.
Maybe they haven't had a chance to escape yet. Maybe we have to call it a wellness check into Otter Creek to see if she's okay.
This is a verbal assault on her.
She looks like she's a hostage, a Jeremy Hales hostage. This is terrible.
Me, and you used to spend all your time with her, or what? Or if it's jealousy because she lives off the government and we don't, or if it's jealousy because you have something that she wants but she can't have it. And frankly, this is an individual who's already been convicted of fraud, financial fraud, writing bad checks, lying, convicted of it, and the list can go on.
All right. I don't know if we'll be able to check on that, but Jeremy, you better hope she was convicted of financial fraud, because if she wasn't, then you're the one who committed defamation.
Idea what you're talking about. Again, I have not listened to anything that has been released about my sister, so I can't comment on it.
Be in court.
And if he wants to sue her, that's on him.
Will be in
if
court.
He wants to be sue happy and sue everybody and their brother, that's on him. So, I also told him I will not help him with any other lawsuits. So if you decide to go in that direction, I'm not helping you.
Courts. I don't care who it is, if they say it and it's defamatory, if it's harassment, if it's illegal.
All right. This guy has 750,000 subscribers, and he thinks that the answer to anybody saying anything bad about him or even defamatory is to go to court instead of just addressing it on his channel. He loves going to court. He is, as his girlfriend George said, sue happy.
Like that's Mike.
In court.
Has he been, or has George been subpoenaed yet in any of these cases?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I've never seen a deposition of George. And if she's talking here how she's not going to help him, maybe, just maybe in some of these lawsuits, you need to subpoena George, because she looks like she's a material, factual witness to a lot of the shenanigans of Jeremy Hales and everything else. So I think maybe George has to go under oath. You know, we have to see. That's something that might have to happen, Mike.
She might have to. All right, here we go.
So if somebody's out there going, oh my goodness, oh, look at this, it's all the evidence, which from what I understand from what most people have sent me so far, oh, it's no evidence. It's just saying, well, I think this and I think that. You know, when you repeat something, and this is the classic example, Deuce is the one who actually said this on Rapalsi's live stream. If you repeat something and said, I heard this from this person, and then repeat it, you're still liable for defamation. There you go. So now he's getting another charge in regards to conspiracy, and she's being added to it. End of story. That's what's happening. Whether she's happy about it or not, I'm not protecting anybody in this. Nobody. If you try.
His reputation, his standing with his YouTube community is a lot more important to him than his relationship with his girlfriend. I'm going to give my opinion, Jay Anna. You don't love your girlfriend.
Try and destroy my life, if you try and destroy my business, if you try and destroy my relationships, you're going to court. You break the law, you do illegal things, you're going to court. Now, obviously, there's some tension in regards to this because that's part of her family. And to be fair, there should be some tension. It's family. It doesn't matter to me. The blood means nothing. There's been so much grace. There's been so much patience, and there isn't any anymore. None. All right. You want to talk about the auction tonight?
All right, guys. We're giving away $100 tonight. I'll see you guys.
All right.
Oh my God.
Listen, I got to find one thing. So
this is like an abused woman. This is terrible, actually. From what I'm seeing here. That might be the most abusive thing I've ever seen. This is really bad. I really feel, I'm honestly, if it was tongue in cheek before, I really feel bad for this woman right now.
No,
she's in a very abusive relationship.
That is
get out of this relationship. That guy is like a bad dude. Like, honestly, that guy's a bad dude. Holy shit.
I agree. That is a very disturbing video, and I don't know what's happening.
They're talking about his sister. Does she have a brother? Because frankly, the brother should be in the car from Ohio down there, taking a ride down and beating the crap out of Jeremy Hales. If that was my sister, I would be in the car right now. And I saw that, and that was strewn upon the world. That's crazy. What this guy is doing to that poor woman. That is terrible. Wow. Out of control.
Right. It's amazing. So next, I want to introduce you to someone.
Oh,
this is Just J Hip, and his entire YouTube channel pretty much is about me and you. What's the deal with this Volpe guy? What's the deal with Mike Volpe and pals? Will this Volpe stream of unhinged X posts stop? When will Mikey and Dickie go away? Mikey and Dickie ride again. Morning chat with Jay. And as you can see, the ones that he does that are about you and me get a lot more views than, like, morning chat only gets 498. These are like 500, 200. So he's trying to clout chase off of you and me. Has he? Now, I contacted him yesterday.
Michael, you're so good looking. That's what it is. You know, you have many people that are following you for that reason alone. Like Sammy McCord up in Connecticut.
I contacted him yesterday. Had he ever contacted you before?
He never contacted me. I think we went back and forth on X, but that's about it.
Yeah, this guy doesn't bother to try to get our side, doesn't invite us on. He just talks bad about us. All right. And so I reached out to him yesterday, and we had an interesting back and forth. So let's take a look. Hey, Jay. It's Mike Volpe. I see that you have said a lot about me, so I'm inviting you on to the unknown, where you can say your piece directly to Richard Luthmann and I. We generally record on Wednesday, but if that doesn't work, we'll figure out another day. Don't be a chicken. And you had to respond. Mike, Jay's not a chicken. He's a little bitch.
Yeah.
Now, this was written on March 25th at 7:48. He responds this morning at 5:03 a.m. Central Time. Good morning. Thank you, and I really appreciate the offer. I do not see any game for me to be on your stream, though. I know it will probably bring in large numbers for your channel for a change, and I am sure that it would be your largest viewed stream to date. However, subjugating my viewers to have to watch me on your channel seems unfair to them. If you can figure out where there would be a benefit for me, please share with me. His whole entire channel is talking about you and me, but he would subjugate his audience to us.
What did he get? 400 views when he's not talking about us? All 400 of them?
Right.
Oh my God.
And my response, you are a coward. You insult people from afar. You can't do it to their faces. His response: good morning. Did you insult Megan Fox to her face? How about Hales? Once again, there is no point for me to give your channel a boost. Going live on a stream with very few viewers and bringing my audience over to watch is not beneficial for me. We can chat about it when I have time on the phone if you would like. On top of that, your buddy's comments really sealed the deal that I would not find it to be worthy of my time. I told you this association with Dick was not helpful. Seems once again he let you down. So he, after the fact, says that you calling him a bitch is the reason.
Well, I don't want to talk to him. Like, I'm going to be candid with you. I don't want to talk to him. He's a weird-looking bastard. You ever look at him? He's got a weird head. His head looks like a pear. He's got a pear-shaped head. It looks like it's like it's going to fall. I don't want to look at him. He's just disgusting to look at. I don't want to look at him. I have to look at him and talk to him? Come on, get out of here.
All right. I've known Megan for 10 years. She went on our show in August. The last time she responded, she called me a scumbag by email. I tried to interview Shaka twice, but he canceled both times. I did get a comment from Hales Ohio lawyers. I asked them for an interview with them or their client, but they refused. Hales doesn't respond to my emails. You are a coward.
Yeah.
Good morning again. I am seeing a common trend from your prior emails. Seems like a lot of swings and misses. I have tried to say this nicely, but bringing my larger, fast-growing, and highly engaging audience to your stream seems unfair to them. I do not know if you have moderators that can handle a chat of 200 to 500 live viewers at one time. I just don't think it would be the experience that my audience would enjoy. I stream tonight, so I will ask my audience and allow them to give me their input. If my audience wants me to go on with you, I will do it. If they're going to be forced to go to your channel, they should have the most input. We record, so there would be no live audience moderators. So I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, you have an open invite. The conversation is on the record.
This guy's name is what? Jason Hipster? Well, that's a hipster.
Yeah.
He's a hipster.
Jason Hipster.
What a name that is, too. He's got an ugly head. He's like disgusting looking, disgusting thinking. But the worst part about it, he's a moron. He's like talking about it. He's got delusions of grandeur, I think, in the same way that Jeremy Hales has. But it's even worse because at least Jeremy's got a few viewers. This guy's got like 4 people that watch him, and he's thinking like he's got to worry about his audience.
All right.
It's out of control.
All right. Look, if you're going to insult people from afar, the classy thing to do is to do it to their face. And you don't have to tell your audience you're coming on.
Well, next week is court, right, Mike? Mike, next week is court, right? April, what, 4th?
Yeah.
I have to get in the car. I have to go see these people.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I haven't been to Pensacola in a while. It's a beautiful
I reached,
Redneck Riviera. Have Hipster come down, too. Tell the Hipster he can come to Pensacola, Hipster and Megan Fox and the Tug and all these. Because Jeremy said that he's going to be in court on that day. That's what I heard. So he'll be in court. So, the sheriff will know exactly where he's going to be. So everybody's going to know where he's going to be. So, other people can come too. All
right. I got it. Okay. So I reached out to this guy, Jay Hip, early yesterday morning. And a few hours later, Mary Lincolns, who goes by the Mary Martini on X, who has tried to send me tweets and messages that I don't respond to, she responded a few hours later. I can't get the top up, so I'm just going to read the second paragraph. I have been mulling this over, and it's got me wondering if you maybe missed the boat on some of the backstory. My husband, Chester, he's a retired attorney, still got a mind like a steel trap, even if he can't find his glasses half the time. Keep saying there's more to this, what the Hales hullabaloo than meets the eye. He's always harping on about, quote, digging into the nitty gritty while he's hunched over his blasted crosswords. He likes the New York Times puzzles best, but I buy him books too. Seems to me like maybe you didn't poke around enough beforehand, or could be you've got some kind of beef with Mrs. Megan Fox that's clouding your judgment. She's done thorough background on the case. I don't know the whole deal there, but Chester says when folks have a vendetta, it's like wearing blinders. You missed the forest from the tree. Chester also feels that Mr. Bruce Matskin is not acting like a normal, sane attorney on this case. From the sound of it, the judge is going to hand him his behind next month for being very unprofessional. Anyhow, I figured you might be swamped or something, and that's why it's a tad skimpy, like a pie without the filling. So I thought, heck, why not drop you a line and offer to help you catch up the whole shebang? I'd love to pitch in and get you the full lowdown, all the good stuff. Make it a real humdinger. I am retired after all. Chester could chime in too if you're up for it. He's got oodles of legal know-how and loves sniffing out the guts of a case. What do you think, Mike? I could snoop around. All right. And she goes on. So this is my response. Mary, you don't need to write in all caps. If you have information, send it my way. All right. And here's her response. Mike, I will have to wait to respond then. I don't have my readers, I'm assuming glasses, and it's hard to see your response. I didn't want you waiting. But you notice she's not in caps anymore. Maybe she did notice what I said. Now, wow, and look, no more caps. How is your day going, kiddo? I just get done planting flowers and trimming my bush. I would have responded sooner, but it took some time to find my readers. After an hour of searching, I found them under the ottoman. Then I made homemade chicken pie, pot pie for my Chester. Would you like my recipe? I've been knee-deep in this YouTube station nonsense. My grandson Christopher finally taught this old bat how to work it during Laura Owen's case. Did you watch that show? My Chester and I have been faithful listeners of her dad, Ron Owens, who we couldn't believe he was letting his daughter make all those false allegations at those young gentlemen. Right now, I'm watching Mrs. Megan Fox, The Umbrella Man, Mr. Bone Crusher, What the Hales, Miss Tory Leather Making, and a few other stations. It's my new obsession when I'm nursing my martini and yelling at Dookie to get off the upholstered couch. You said you didn't know who George was. She's Jeremy's girl. They're out there buying storage units like it's bingo night at the senior center, then sales ending on eBay. They got a boatload of followers, maybe 700,000. That's more people than I've got aching in my ears. In my knees, she's the live wire, grabbing about their halls like she's spilling tea at the beauty parlor. We're talking moth-eaten junk, creepy knickknacks, or that time they busted open a safe stuffed with cash. I nearly dropped my dentures. My grandson Christopher set me up a new Netflix YouTube list so I can watch the older shows on you. What? It's not a Netflix YouTube list. Anyway, they live between Ohio and Florida, and she goes on.
Mike,
all right.
Mike, is this a real person, or is it Jeremy Hales like in one of his?
I don't know.
That's the only person I think that could care this much would be Jeremy Hales, trying to disguise himself as somebody else. That's what I really think. Mary should come on. Mary, come on and show yourself. Bring Chester too. It's not a figment of your imagination.
Were you going to give me documents? If not, I don't care about your life. She said she had information for me.
Yeah, where is it?
Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? When did I say I had documents? It's no wonder you aren't married. You act like a cat. So earlier I said that
crazy. She's not a real woman, Mike. She's not for real. Have her come on if she's for real.
All right, we'll ask her to come on. But this is an AstroTurf operation, and that's what this is. This guy Jay Hip was recruited to say nasty things about us, and Megan promotes him. She puts his promotions up through YouTube, and that's how he gets his audience. He doesn't. No one is watching him because they think he's cool. There's 50,000 people being driven to him, and so that made me think. Shara started a YouTube channel just for What the Hales.
Shara.
You have got to see this back and forth. Now,
Shara.
Do you see this? March 8th. Keep in mind the dates. Shara, you didn't do any videos before your Hales videos. Were you promised promotion by Megan or Todd or Hales in exchange for doing pro Hales videos? 3:36. She doesn't respond. 4:05. Do you need to talk to Hales before answering? Is that why it's taking so long to respond to a yes or no question? And she goes, you appear to be inventing new lies while gaslighting. That's not journalism. How much has Bossman funded you for this question? And my response, why do you insist on answering every question with a question? Why do you deflect so much? reason I said deflect is because according to Google's, according to their to the AI, someone who always answers a question with a question is a deflector. You are making false accusations and reporting lies about me. Does not feel friendly. I asked you a question you won't answer. It's plainly obvious you started the channel because Hales promised to promote it. Incorrect again. So the promotion happened by accident? Is that what you're saying? Because he does promote you. No one promotes me. They promote her. Obviously, they promote her. There's nothing wrong with Hales saying you should watch Shara's channel. What would be bad is if you have a secret deal where Hales said you make these kinds of videos and I'll promote them. All right. No one promotes you. Being promoted is a good thing unless it's a corrupt deal. That's why your response is weird. You should have talked to Hales. This makes you look guilty. Guilty of what? Why are you trying to intimidate a witness in a federal case? Do you know what she's talking about?
What? This is crazy. A witness in a federal case. So she's going to testify potentially in Jeremy Hales' case, and you're engaged with this intimidation? Is that what we're trying to get at here?
Yeah.
Out of control.
Exactly. By the way, she's one of those independent journalists who also testifies for one side in the case she's covering.
Oh my God. So what is she at this point?
Right. All right. Now you're just completely ridiculous. Good talk, Shara. F off. You know what she means. Now, that was March 8th. I didn't say anything else to her. I wasn't even going to say anything else to her. All right. March 18th. What's next? Remember, this is her initiating a conversation with me. What's next? You seem to be lost in left field. I always looked up to you in journalism. Are you that broke? What's your email? Now, watch this. Without asking me why, she dutifully gives me her email address. Do you know why I asked her to give me her email address? Because I wanted to see if she subscribes to my Substack, because she's saying I'm lost in left field. I wanted to see if she follows my stuff. You're not subscribed to my stuff. You don't know what I'm working on. And she goes, what is your site link? So she's saying, what's next? You seem to be lost in left field. She doesn't even know that I have a site. How does she know I'm lost?
Out of control.
Right. You told me I was lost. You're lost. You threw out an accusation with no basis. You're a fraud. What accusation? That you're lost in left field. We're done. Okay? So again, I don't respond. Thursday, another day, she responds again. You approached me and made the false accusation here and also publicly about me. For the record, I feel intimidated by you and by the person that hired you to approach me. Do not contact me again. Again, she reached out to me after 10 days of no contact. I didn't reach out to her, and now she's saying she's intimidated by me, and she's the one who sent this. Shara, a 2-year-old, could intimidate you. If you don't want me to contact you, Facebook has a block button. I asked you to stop contacting me, and that's when I blocked her. Yeah. Shara Michelle Wolf, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, there is a narrative now that I am intimidating a federal witness.
There you go, Mike. Heck. Mm-hmm. Mike, you felt intimidating to me today. I may very well be a federal witness at some point in the future. Therefore, you can add the charges on Michael. You may be a federal witness at sometime in the future. So therefore, I may have intimidated you today. Therefore, I'm a federal witness intimidator as well. We should rechange this to the Federal Witness Intimidation Podcast, because everyone who's a federal witness is unknown. So it's not the Unknown Podcast. It's the Federal Intimidation Podcast, I guess, from now on. I guess that's what it is.
By the way, Jeremy has suggested that we're under investigation. We are not. Jeremy sues everyone. Now Shara claims that I'm intimidating a federal witness. All of these folks love to say that somebody is violating a civil or criminal statute all the time. We have a sub category that we call Is It Frivolous, because Jeremy Hales J. Anon has filed a very frivolous lawsuit. So we look at other lawsuits to decipher just how frivolous those lawsuits are. And next, we're going to talk about Andrew and Tristan Tate suing a bunch of X accounts. And let me get to the appropriate portion. And we're going to start on page 28, because I find these few pages pretty interesting. So here we go. Let me see here. Maybe it's not there. On information and belief. So what they're arguing in this lawsuit is that this group of Twitter accounts here.
Yeah, they are.
Team Matrix circulates most, if not all, of these defamatory comments, regardless of exculpatory evidence, publicly information. Here it is. What they argue is that these Twitter accounts right here, there's some of them. I don't know if that's all
murdered
of them.
by crayons.
Right. Suzanne Winter, Just Me, Sharon. They call themselves Team Matrix, that they have formed an anti-Tate ecosystem.
Oh my
if you
God.
will, and that they are involved in a conspiracy to defame the Tate brothers.
Wow.
Where have you heard this before?
Mike, I think this is a very important case, though, because I think it reveals to us that the Tate brothers and Jeremy Hales are suffering the same psychological delusion. I think we have medical evidence now of a similar psychological delusion that the two of these are filing, because they're doing the same things. The symptoms are the same. They run to the court and say crazy, outlandish shit. And they were murdered by crayons. The big time tough guy Tate brothers were murdered by crayons.
All right. So first of all, for those who don't know, in his second lawsuit, Jay Anon claimed there was a conspiracy to defame by the anti-Hales ecosystem. It's like this lawyer, and I reached out to the lawyer, didn't get back to me, the lawyer for the Tate brothers. So there's a few things that we need to break down. First of all, this will be important. Would the Tate brothers be considered public figures?
Without question.
Without question. What does that mean, a public figure?
Public figure is someone who is basically injects himself into the public square, and then has some type of actually belongs there, some type of following for some reason. And they're big enough in media that they are. They're big enough figures that they've been involved in legal, they've been involved in media, they've been involved in stuff. They have millions of followers. They're the type of people that are public figures of that question for all purposes.
Right. Without a doubt, there's not going to be any doubt. As public figures, in order to prove defamation, they would have to prove actual malice. What does that mean? What does that mean in layman's terms?
That's a high standard. That means that there's no good faith, right? Malice means the absence of good faith. What good faith is somebody saying something, and it's not just that they were mistaken, it's that they knew that it was wrong and they intentionally said it anyway, okay? Or they knew that it was probably not right and they were so reckless that they put it out there. It's one of those two standards, and that's what the level. It's such a high standard to try to get to, because you need to really get the person on tape or in writing saying to somebody else, I know this is false, and I'm going to say it anyway just so I can hurt this person and ruin their reputation. That's really the level that you need to get of proof. You need to get their own words to use against them in some recorded fashion. That's about all you can do to get that standard. All
right. So the Tate brothers say they are being falsely accused by this conspiracy of being human traffickers, rapists, and people who force others into sex. So we're going to go through some videos. So this is Bruce Rivers. He is the criminal lawyer. He is a great lawyer. He's got a great YouTube channel. He's going to break down some things about the Tate brothers, and then we're going to watch another video.
They're talking about, and all the stuff that he's put out there can be used against him, not taken out of context. So what is he charged with? He's charged with sex trafficking, and I would venture to bet that maybe even some tax stuff might come down the pike. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Sex trafficking, there's three unless you're dealing with underage, when we don't have any evidence that anybody's underage, but we have three things: force, fraud, or coercion. Force, obviously, that's like being in chains and not being allowed to leave. Fraud, being kept there under false pretenses. if there's an element of fraud in the way that you are enticing somebody or keeping somebody in a particular position to work for you, and if it's in the sex business, that's sex trafficking or coercion, threat of harm, or some other way to limit your movement. And so let's kind of look at one of his.
All right. So force, fraud, and coercion in the sex business is sex trafficking, and sex trafficking is, of course, a form of human trafficking. So let's take a look at another video. The video is 50 minutes of Andrew Tate telling on himself. All right. So I'm going to start at 0. You ready?
So for me, fighting was just an outlet, because if I didn't put it into fighting, I would end up in jail. But the majority of my money was actually made in the pimp game. I say that, people think I'm...
All right. The pimp game. So he's a pimp. So he's acknowledging, maybe not sex trafficking, but we're getting close. But if you're a pimp and you do it through force, fraud, or coercion, then I'd say that meets the elements of sex trafficking, according to the criminal lawyer Bruce Rivers. So let's keep listening to him.
So I was a bit like, what's this going to be? So I flush my phone down the toilet quickly.
Coming! So I'm trying to hide shit. I'm looking around, like, what do I have to hide? Dude?
Also, when you're real G, is that you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You got to go to Poland, you got to go to Warsaw, fucking Dubai, Miami. Anyone who watches State Confidential knows I'm all over the place. So I end up with all these chicks just stuck in their house, sitting there, bored, completely in love with me. And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out.
I don't even have to fuck you. Forget the sex part. That's a distraction. My dick can stay in my pants. I'll just start beating the shit out of you. How about that? We walk into bed.
All right. They're not allowed out. I'll beat the shit out of you. That sounds like sex trafficking. So,
and it sounds like coercion too, yeah.
Right. So I think he's met a couple of the elements right there. That's his own words now. Right? All right. Here we go. Last one. And keep in mind, there's 50 minutes of this. He admitted to a heck of a lot more than just this.
Wait, you just said that. No. I actually overheard that. The fact that you fucking said that shit is fucking crazy. That's fucked up. You were
I mean, I have on corporatetape.com, I have a course, and I teach everything I know about girls from start to finish, everything I know about game. And it will help. But if you're a low-value man, it can only help. You're not banging Claudia Schiffer or fucking whoever.
Is this your PhD program?
PhD program, that's right.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, on corporatetape.com, I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm.
Clever.
And
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me. Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me. And that's how I got rich. So that teaches everything I know from start to finish about not only getting girls, not only obtaining them, but retaining them. Because that's a completely different game as well. Mm-hmm. So I teach everything I know in there. But even
I want you to listen to this.
So that sounds like coercion. And another point in that same video.
He just admitted he gets women to love him under false pretenses.
Right. That's fraud. That's fraud. At another point in that same video, he talks about getting money through Bitcoin and saying you don't have to pay taxes on that. Of course you do. And then telling the girls that they don't get a certain portion because I'm paying taxes while he doesn't. That's called fraud. He's on tape. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most frivolous, how frivolous is this lawsuit?
This is probably a 20, 25, somewhere in there. This is hit going for nuclear level frivolous. This guy is, I don't know what he's doing. He's a clown. He's beyond a clown. And that it puts Jeremy Hales into perspective, because Jeremy Hales is a clown. This guy's off the Rockets clown. Mm-hmm. Tate is just, and he's going to go down. It's so terrible, but the guy's a bad dude. The guy's just he's a really bad dude. It's terrible.
Both Tate brothers are really bad dudes. One interesting thing about that lawsuit is they both acknowledge they are fathers. They've got kids. I've got some other stuff that we'll work on next week for What the Hales, but unless you've got any more, that's the end of the What the Hales segment.
Oh, what next week is going to be we'll be on the air before the court date, right? Okay, beautiful. That'll
right. There's
that'll be the prep for the court.
Right. Well, there was court stuff that happened, but
maybe we'll get like a wig. I'll wear a wig. I'll pretend I'm Bolito or something like that, Judge Bozo. Because frankly, I don't know what this guy's thinking over there, Judge Bozo, because he's a little magistrate judge, And the way the judiciary is going right now, if they continue, I think anybody that continues with this, unchecked, judge, the ones that act like they're God. There's a lot of them that are acting like that, and that they're unbound by law or by anything else. There's going to be a reckoning, and there's going to be a culling. I think that we can disagree about Boatsburg and all these other people and everything else, but there are a vast number of these judges out there that are just no good judges, that are incompetent judges, that are out of control judges, and we see that. We talk about them all the time. Like a perfect example, and it's not one party, it's not one president or another president that put them in. It's all across the board. So we'll talk about Obama appointees, but we'll also talk about Trump appointees, like Dooley, your friend Dooley up in Connecticut. Her name keeps coming up. We cover cases in Connecticut, and the most diverse cases we're talking about. One of Bruce's cases, then we're talking about Paul Boyne's case, then we're talking about this one's case. Dooley's name keeps coming up for making stupid decisions. Well, believe those names keeps coming up for stupid decisions too. And it's not just the Hales case. And he's a magistrate. He's not even an Article III judge that has actually gone to Congress and been appointed. Right? He's not somebody that has a lifetime appointment. He's looking at the express lane to get thrown out the judiciary. that's what he's looking at. This guy.
Well, what you're referring to is that Randall Sprocket filed a motion saying that Bruce sent mean emails, and Bolito freaked out before Bruce Matzkin, that is, could respond. He immediately ordered everyone to court, I think either the 4th or the 3rd of April. He gave Bruce Matzkin a shortened period of time to respond. And as we covered it, when Bruce Matzkin alleged that there was perjury and possibly suborning of perjury, he didn't seem to take that very seriously, which is why we call him Magistrate Bozo. Also, for those who aren't aware, a magistrate is a junior judge. Anything else you want to add on what the Hills?
No.
All right. We've got an update. We have an update on Monica Ciardi. I'm going to get this article up. It's good news, but is it good news? Gagged and shackled, protective mom silenced by a shady plea deal. Is Monica Ciardi still in jail?
Monica is out. And
it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. Let's cheer. Let's golf clap. Give me a golf clap.
Yeah, golf clap.
Or a real clap. All right. Anyway, why is this a bad thing?
They had her plea out. And so she pleaded in order to get out of jail. She pleaded, and what we didn't talk about with this is what are called collateral consequences to a conviction. And my concern is that they brought in this attorney, and she was brought in with a Casey Breslin or whatever her name is, and she's the attorney that they brought in, and she's a former prosecutor. There she is, Casey Breslow. I don't think that she's a bad lawyer per se, but I think she didn't do a great job in this case for a specific reason. And that's, first of all, how can somebody make a decision about the collateral consequences of a criminal deal without fully understanding it? And the big problem that she has is when you give away your rights and you say I'm guilty and this and that, and it's a third-degree charge. We don't know the full ramification. It looks like a felony charge. This means that Monica can lose her kids forever, or at least until they're age 18 and they can come and consent to be with her. And so I would think that that's a due process issue. There's a very famous case in the Supreme Court of the United States called Kentucky v. Padilla, or Padilla v. Kentucky. And what happened in that case was a whole bunch of pleas were thrown out, and it's unconstitutional to take a criminal plea in federal court, in state court, anywhere in the United States, unless the person knows the immigration consequences of their plea, the collateral consequences of the plea. If you plead guilty to this felony, you may be removed. Okay, that's the law. I think that the same type of due process could be here for Monica Ciardi. I don't think this plea could stick if it's argued correctly, because I don't think that she was in jail, and the condition she was in a room in a medical wing with a woman who was defecating all over herself, covered in shit, basically. The room smelled terrible, and she just wanted to get out of there. And she's not fully informed about the fact that if you plead guilty to this felony, even if you're pleading guilty because you're not guilty, you just want to get out, you need to know about what's going to happen with your kids. You need to know what's going to happen with the collateral consequences to the conviction. So it seems like there was a bit of a situation where Casey Breslow should have gotten Monica out of jail. She should have got her out on a bail motion, made a full bail showing first to show why shouldn't this woman be released on bail? And then if there was a deal to be made, given all the complications here, then make the deal with Monica on the outside with access, because that's what Monica's doing now. She's going to medical doctors and everything else to get her health in order after being in jail for a number of months since last October. And so that's going to take a little bit of time for her. Get her healthy, and then make that decision to plead guilty or to not plead guilty, to take it to trial from an informed position with the full collateral consequences allocated on the record by the judge. And I don't think that happened here. I'm trying to get a copy of the transcript. I'm trying to get stuff. People have been unresponsive, and we're leaving Monica alone for the time being because she just got out of jail. Give her a couple of days to get her act together and feel better and see her doctors and everything else. But I don't think this Casey Breslow did anybody any services here, in the sense that it just doesn't look like this deal. This deal could cause more problems than anything else, because it looks like it was a kangaroo type court deal and if there's any type of fraud that was covered up, knowing or even quasi apparent in the judicial system, in the prosecutorial system, everything else. Usually a plea is a waiver of antecedent violations, except for where the prosecution has no business making a deal to cover up their own malfeasance or known malfeasance. So if there's known malfeasance here that they were looking to cover up, there's plenty of case law that says that Brady versus United States is the big federal case that says that the antecedent waiver of constitutional violations does not hold water. This might not be a good deal. I just don't know. And we're going to see it's going to get worse and worse and worse because Johnny Uranus, or Johnny Ioannis is the husband, but Johnny Uranus, we'll see what happens here, because I don't think she's gonna ever see her kids again. That's my gut on this.
Why didn't her seasoned former prosecutor get her out of jail before working on a plea deal?
Oh, she's a former prosecutor. I think she got told. I can only assume. I can assume that she got a phone call. She talked to the prosecutors on the case, and I think it was the Morris County prosecutors on there, and they said, okay, we'll let her out. She'll do no more days in jail. Bring that to your client. That's that. And so she has to bring it to the client at that point. But then they don't talk about all the big stuff. They don't talk about all the collateral stuff. And so, it's right on the line here. Because if Monica, who's to say Monica wants to get out and just want to take the deal? But I think there's more involved there. I think there's issues of due process here. Here's a real issue of due process: Monica Ciardi's due process, not Tren de Aragua's due process. Not some murderer or killers who are not an American citizens process, but a family court hostage, a mother, a protective mother who's done the right thing. Her due process rights should be defended. And so, Mike, if you're going to argue about Tren de Aragua's due process rights, then we have to argue everybody's.
I'll argue everybody's due process rights. You don't know they're Tren de Aragua without having due process. That said, you said something interesting, and it triggered something for me. You said if you don't know the consequences of your plea, what is the legal rule there?
If the collateral consequences of the plea have to be known. It's a due process violation at that point.
Let me read this to you. The police eventually dropped the charges for a lack of evidence. Gina said she was given bad advice by her lawyer, Jessica Peterson, who told her to accept the plea where she neither admitted nor denied the charges against her. She would do some supervised visitation visits with her son, some parenting classes, other Department of Children and Family Services mandated curriculum, but upon completion, she would get her son back. Gina told me the lawyer told her. I reached out to Miss Peterson, but she did not respond. Instead, per Utah law, where a parent does not affirmatively deny an allegation in juvenile court, that is treated as substantiating that charge. Sounds like exactly what you're talking about. Gina might have a case.
Well, that's the issue. And it becomes an issue because the right that they talked about in Kentucky v. Padilla.
And before you go on, that's Gina Kuzmansky. This is a case out of Utah. That sounds like exactly what you're talking about, that she did not understand the collateral damage And so her due process was violated, and she should, except she's appealed this every which way, and no one will give her any.
Here's the problem we have right here. Okay. In the Kentucky v. Padilla, you have a federal issue in immigration, naturalization, deportation. That's a federal issue. It's handled by the feds, and it's a liberty interest. So you have the highest level, you have the strict scrutiny issue. The issue that they don't want to touch, the third rail of federal politics and the federal courts, is the issue of the natural right and the natural law right to be a parent. And so that's something that they want to say, oh no, it's something that's
Jose Padilla, a suspected Al-Qaeda member, has more due process rights than Gina Kuzmansky, who I believe was born in the U.S., a tax-paying citizen, a mother who wants to be a mother to her son, and she has less due process rights than the suspected Al-Qaeda. Am I right? Is that the Jose Padilla you're talking about?
Padilla, yeah, Padilla v. Kentucky. So that's part of the issue. Is that, and there's Supreme Court precedent. O'Connor had an opinion, and there's some others that have talked about the natural right to be a parent, the natural law right to be a parent, the fundamental right to be a parent, which would trigger strict scrutiny. But it would be my hope that this court, if any court, would recognize the natural law right, or if not the natural, or at least the fundamental right to be a parent, the fundamental right to be able to parent your children. I think that if any court would do it, I think this court would.
The U.S. Supreme Court has done it,
but it's not respected, Mike. And that's the issue. And if it was respected,
right there, folks, there is a fundamental right under the 14th Amendment for a parent to oversee the care, custody, and control of their child. Traxel versus Granville, 2000. That is a United States Supreme Court case.
Yeah, and if that was applied correctly in Utah, then it wouldn't be an issue. That plea agreement would be thrown out because you have a fundamental right that was not addressed in the collateral.
He has taken it to every appeals court she can think of, and they will not, even though I believe the lawyer has admitted that it was faulty advice. And I spoke with another lawyer who said, it's easy to make that mistake. It's like a very deep in the weeds part of the law. It was easy for the lawyer to make a mistake. I don't think it was malicious. Obviously not the best lawyering, but that should have been overturned. She thought that she would get her son back if she said, I neither admit nor deny, and it was the exact opposite.
It's not something, Mike, that monetary damages can compensate. So if they gave bad advice in a criminal plea about property, right, about something, and you lose your property because of it, you lose a car or you lose a house even, you could only sue that lawyer potentially for malpractice if it's a civil issue or different things. But you can't. How can they compensate a child? How can you compensate a fundamental right? You can't compensate a fundamental right, and that's the problem we have here. And that's the problem with going back to Monica. That's the problem that we have with Monica's case. The whole case stinks because it's just the Jersey system that really stinks. And the police involvement, John Ioannis, the firearms instructor, and then the courts, and then the Judge Bogart talking on the bench and everything else. It doesn't pass the smell test for anybody. It really doesn't. All
right. So we talked about this case last week. Again, a horrible but also interesting update. I interviewed a guy named Jeff Reichert, who's an attorney himself, is out of Virginia. Before we talk about the rest of the case, we're going to play some of these videos for a while because they're absolutely stunning. This is Wayne Dolcefino and Jeff's son Grant from September of 2022. The date is wrong on that. This happened on sometime in September 2022. Let's watch and listen, and then we'll talk about the update.
One of the things I want to talk to you about is Miss Laird, who is the person that is telling the court what you want, right? And I know I wouldn't be happy if someone else was speaking for me. I want to ask you first about that. How do you feel about Helen Laird speaking for you?
I don't like it at all. Like, she will sit down and we'll do something like this where, I'll talk to her and she'll give me basically two options, and both of those options are terrible. And it's pick the lesser one. So when she says, "What do you want?" and I say what I want, she goes, "Oh, that's not an option. I'll give you two choices. You can either go back and forth or you don't see your dad again." She said, "You won't see she said, if I don't agree to visitation and 50-50 with my mom, that there's a good chance that I will not see my dad for a while."
Do you view that as a threat?
I view that as, yes, sort of, it's the person who's supposed to be my voice is essentially giving me an ultimatum. And it's,
He's all right. He's all right. Go ahead.
It's just like, I just remember I was on the phone with her and she asked me, she said, "What do you want?" I said, "To be full-time with my dad and to basically be with my dad full-time, be with my dad full-time," right? I'm sorry for stumbling over words, but that's what I want. I want to go back to Virginia with my dad, live a normal life. And she goes, "Oh, well, that's not possible right now." She goes, "That's not possible right now." So I say, "All right, well, that's what I want." And then it just turns into this whole thing where, oh, it's actually not what you want. It's your choices. She's supposed to be basically, when I say something, repeat it. That's my voice in the court, and she makes her own opinion on that. For me, it's just bias. She's openly biased on the phone. She's biased with my mom. She's biased towards my mom. She prefers, if it was up to her and that she didn't talk to me, and that's basically what she's doing. She'll talk to me and then she'll say the opposite of what I said. And I'll say something, and take it back or whatever, and I'll say, "Oh yeah, I mean this," and she'll take something that I didn't mean and then twist it, and then that's in her report. She refuses to take what I want and say what I want. She'll just say what she thinks I want, but she doesn't. She's against me. It does not feel like she's, I have a voice in the court. It's, I have to fight her, and along with, everyone else in the court, because it's Susan Crone, I can't, it's just bias. And it's basically she gave me the idea that my dad's a criminal. And it's all right, well, what's he done wrong? Oh, not bring you. Well, the reason that he didn't bring me is, and it's not like I wanted to go and he didn't bring me. I didn't want to go. But that's on top of other stuff. So, it's just wrong. And I don't claim to know much about much. I'm only 12, almost 13. But, I can tell when someone is being completely biased. It's here's a murderer, right? But let's say that murderer is, you've known them for a while and you have the victim. You will side with, she's doing the equivalent of siding with the murderer because they know them better. Because Helen's basically a family friend to my mom. That's the idea I get.
Why do you get that idea?
She talks about her oh yeah, my mom says oh yeah, Helen does a great job and Helen looks out for you, and she says all that, and it's no, she doesn't. She doesn't.
You don't think Helen's looking out for you?
Helen does. She hasn't.
All right, so you once used a term, legal fiction. What does that term mean?
Legal fiction is actually a term in the law. It's how you bridge the gap to get to a result when the application of the law doesn't get you there. The law to the fact doesn't get you there fully. And so legal fiction has grown in recent years to encompass a whole lot of things. And so the best example of legal fiction that I can give is when you walk into the courtroom and you have a plea deal and they say, okay, we got you for going, 70 in a 25, but we're going to get you to agree to plea to parking on pavement, right? Mm-hmm. So you agree, oh yeah, I parked on the pavement. That's the legal fiction. You weren't parking, you weren't on the pavement, but as the law says it, you parked on the pavement and you weren't supposed to. That's a legal fiction. And so it happens a lot in our system. It happens every day and every moment in the American justice system. But it's gotten to a point where it's out of control, where they take legal facts and try to turn them into real world facts. You know, people try to say this happened in the court of law, and then they try to say, well, this is the fact for everything. One of the guys that does this phenomenally is our friend, Mr. Christopher Ambrose. Christopher Ambrose runs the court in Connecticut and tries to get them to say the sky is green, and then runs around outside the court and says the sky is now green because I have a court order that says so. You know, and so that's what happens a lot of times with these people that understand the law, that are lawyers, and then use these little nuanced things to get a ruling that, you know, it's really not like the stuff that you should hinge any good jurisprudence on. But they get it, and then they take that point and they run around with it like it's gospel fact. It's destructive to the system. It's destructive to the truth. It's destructive to the institutions of justice, to the appearance of propriety, to the respect for the justice system. But it's done all day, every day, by lawyers.
All right. So I don't know if I used it right. You tell me if you think that what's going on here is legal fiction. This is Judge Elizabeth Morris from Maryland. Now, you heard Grant Reichert. You heard what he wants. You heard what he said. This is part of her order from March 18, 2025. Now, that interview was from 2022. Ordered that supervised access between father and child is limited to supervised telephone calls. Communication between father and child is only to occur by scheduled telephone calls. Calls are to be scheduled by Gina Caruana. Phone calls shall be monitored by Gina Caruana to ensure the psychological and emotional well-being of the minor child. There should be no communication between father and minor child by any other electronic means. Father shall promptly pay all costs of supervision, if any, and sign all documents required by the supervisor, and is further ordered. Does that sound anything like what you heard the child she is ordering say he wants?
No, that's the point. The point is that is a valid legal language, okay? But what's the basis for that legal language? The judge has to make a finding, and the finding itself flies in the face of the facts that we just witnessed. I don't know how any judge in their right mind, you know, absent some really, really damning evidence to counterbalance it, that could come up with that language. All
right. Well, what if I further told you that since that video was made, the last time Jeff and his son were in the same room was when that video was made, and he's spoken to him twice in the last year. So there can't be a finding of anything that Jeff Reichert has done, because he's had almost no contact with his son in the last 3 years. Now, what if I further told you that she is out of Anne Arundel County, and neither parent lives in Anne Arundel County now? Jeff lives in Virginia, and Sarah, the mother, lives in Baltimore County. Now, what if I further told you there was no actual hearing? The last hearing was December 18th, and all that happened was that she read off another order, she being this lady right here. No evidence was presented before she came up with this right here. None. Zero. In fact, there's a motion to modify that Jeff Reichert has filed, and she refuses to allow a hearing on that. Is this legal fiction?
Oh, one of the fictions that you have going on, or one of the problems you have, is where the case is. Usually, a case should be where the center of gravity of the litigation is. And there's another related concept, which is a forum nonconvenience, inconvenient forum. And there's something called the UCCJEA. That's the we have child enforcement. And so if you have a situation where the people, and one of them is still in Maryland, so it's not an on all fours type situation, but if you have where the parents move out of the state and the kid's not in the state anymore, right? You have a situation where it's not a convenient forum. The center of gravity of the litigation isn't there, and another forum might be much more appropriate. Here, it looks like even Anne Arundel's not an appropriate forum. Maybe Baltimore is the proper forum because that's where the kid is. You know, so maybe they can put in for another judge. But a lot of times it's out of state. You know, the parents start a divorce in New York or New Jersey or Connecticut, and then they're living in Texas or Florida or someplace else by the time a few months pass by. So it becomes, or a few years pass by. So that becomes an issue and a concern.
Anne Arundel was from the beginning a dicey place to put it. And Jeff Reichert has filed a petition for emancipation that would deem, if it's granted, his son to be an adult, which would mean the child custody court would no longer have jurisdiction over him. And he filed that in Baltimore County, and I believe they've moved that to Anne Arundel. They want this in Anne Arundel. We've talked about this concept before. It's called forum shopping. It's what Jeremy Hales, J. Anon did with a protective order, and I believe that Sarah Hornbeck, through her lawyer, Brian McCarthy, are doing it.
They have to appeal that removal to Anne Arundel, and appeal it under those basic concepts of a center of gravity of litigation and of forum nonconvenience, in the sense that it makes no sense. Like there are many places that can hear a case, Mike. Like a lot of places have a hook. There are like a lot of different counties within a state, or many different states could have an interest in hearing a case. But when push comes to shove, where's all the evidence, right? If there are witnesses, if there are actual physical places, or there are things like that, where are those things located? And the biggest witness in this case is the kid, right? Where's the kid located? Where's the kid go to school? What does the kid do? How do you figure out the kid's best interests? And who are the people that we'd have to talk to figure out those best interests? If they're in Baltimore County, that should be the place that's the center of gravity of litigation. That's the most convenient forum for it to be. And anything outside of that becomes an inconvenient forum. And that's the argument I think he really should make.
And they have made that argument, and these courts don't seem to buy that argument. And I don't think that they're just misreading the law. I think that something bigger is in play. You didn't write this article, but it is on your site. I'm sure you know a lot about it. The article's titled Family Court Red Scare. Naples lawyer Ruben Dupe, hopefully I pronounced that right, pushes American kids toward communist China, backing deadbeat dad, hiding in Hong Kong. This sounds like something that should be on ID or something like that. What's going on
Ruben
here?
Dupe of Naples, Florida. This man is scumbag of scumbags. The question becomes, at what point do the lawyers have to stop being mercenary dirtbags and realize that are children involved and that there is an American...
Hold on. I thought everyone, no matter how terrible, Charles Manson was zealously represented.
Michael, that is a criminal court, right? And that difference here, and they like to say it in New York, it's an old New York term, sir, you're on the wrong side of Center Street with that one. Because when you're talking about the best interests of the child, rights can take a back seat. You know, the rights of the litigants can take a back seat.
So your argument is you do not have the right to a civil lawyer, and you do not, as a civil lawyer, have a duty to zealously represent your client if they're a scummy.
I'm making the argument that the rights of the children have to be represented here. Okay. And the fact is, you have a lawyer that turns around. There's a point where a lawyer has to say ethically that my ethical rules kick in. And I think that we can agree that this is a constitution that we're expounding. It goes back to John Marshall, but it's an American constitution we're expounding. And the second that a lawyer's interests start to deviate from the American justice system or the Florida justice system and align themselves with a deadbeat offshore guy in a communist country that wants to bring American children.
Hold on, let me interrupt. Explain more. Why is this guy in China? Why is he trying to get his kids?
A guy named Namba, okay? And Namba is a finance guy, and he's a U.S. citizen, but he's one or two generations removed from being a Japanese citizen. So he was only in the U.S., I believe, because the family had come and had come from Japan. And so he's like the first generation, but he wasn't really, he was there mainly for the financial. And he's a currency trader, does exotic currency trading, mostly the Pacific Rim currencies like Japanese, Chinese, all these other places. And it knocks him off against the U.S. dollar and the pound and all this other stuff. And so that's the part of the world that he wants to be in. He wants to be in Asia where he's there, but he's a U.S. person. He's got U.S. children, a U.S. wife. The children are U.S. and he holds a U.S. passport. The fact of the matter is that, okay, well, the guy wants to be in Hong Kong. He has no, number one, no reason to want to bring those children to Hong Kong. But he's asserting in his lawsuit that he wants custody over these children, right? He wants, as a negotiating.
And the children currently live in the U.S. and he is using the Hague.
They're in the state of Florida. And
he's using the Hague Convention to do it.
Well, he's not even using the Hague Convention because China's not a signatory to the Hague Convention.
Oh.
They're not a full signatory. So what he's turning around and doing is he's in the U.S. courts and he's saying, I want to have custody of my kids. And he's got this lawyer, Dupay, coming in saying, oh, they should have custody. At the same time, Dupay is telling his client, don't pay child support, don't pay anything to the spouse, don't pay temporary support, don't do anything.
In a financial dire, right?
Yeah,
she's in a financial dire strip.
Here's the point. Even though he's a U.S. citizen, he's outside of the U.S. jurisdiction, so they can't compel the muscle on him in order to say, okay, if you don't pay, we're going to throw you in jail. Right? If it was in Florida, if it was two people in Miami, they could throw one of them in jail if they didn't pay their child support obligations. This guy he's a deadbeat, but he's a millionaire deadbeat in the sense that he's got property all over the world, offshore accounts. He started in Singapore because they were in Singapore before, and he filed financial affidavits in Singapore. Dupay was an expert witness in Singapore, trying to say the Singapore courts had jurisdiction, not the Florida courts, but the Florida courts really did. And then now it's in Florida. He is the Florida lawyer. They filed financial affidavits in Singapore that do not correspond to the financial affidavits that they filed in Florida. And Dupay's on both cases. So he's a lawyer, and the numbers are all fucking funny. That's a legal term, fucking funny, because and the other F word there is fraud. And so you can't be a lawyer who basically suborns fraud. Suborns, not supporting children who are residents of the state of Florida, and a mother who's a resident of the state of Florida. At a certain point, your ethical rules as an attorney and for the entire law firm have to kick in and say, you know what? Okay, enough's enough. You can't be doing this. Now, that's the problem.
I don't understand. I understand we got a scumbag lawyer and his client is a huge scumbag. Why would the court entertain this petition or motion, wherever this guy has filed? He's not paying child support. He doesn't live in the country. Why is the court even entertaining this petition?
Well, that's the point, is that this is like a legal limbo type situation because the guy is not present in the United States. That's the problem, because the judge, a good judge, could call this guy in and tell him, look, buddy, you're going to do what I say. Here's the temporary order. Or you're going to go to jail. This judge has not compelled this guy to come to the United States.
No. Why don't they throw out the petition to try to get custody if he doesn't even live in the country or pay child support?
Well, that's the point. The point is that they're trying to resolve the case. And the issue this guy has is he's got United States hooks. He's got money in the United States. He's got, more important than, he's got financial licenses in the United States that could get attached, and he's got problems. So the next step, I think, would be the financial people have to be alerted to the Singapore and the Florida filings. But there's no hammer that this judge can bring in Florida. I feel bad for the Florida judge because he's got no hammer that he could bring to compel this guy, unless he tells this guy to show up personally to the court. You can't do this by Zoom from halfway around the world, and then lays the law down on him. But I don't think this scumbag Dupay would want his client even to show up in Florida. And that begs the question, are you serving the interest as a member of the Florida bar and an officer of the court by doing this type of scumbag practice of law? And are you over the line at this point? I think this guy's way over the line in family court and doing it. And we see this. This is like, the Hague Convention are horror stories, Mike. These Hague Convention cases. This is beyond a horror story case because the guy's camped out in Hong Kong. Right? He's a financial guy in Hong Kong, and they're enemies of America. So what happens? This guy's going to sit there, and you got the laws of the United States, you got the laws of China, which are not respected, and then the other place that potentially is the laws of Japan. And if this guy gets his hands on those kids, and takes them either to China or Japan, the mother never sees her children again. You think about that. If the kids leave the sanctuary, the United States citizen children leave the sanctuary of the state of Florida and the United States of America, these children will be kidnapped potentially to communism. And I think that a guy like Ruben DePay, as a lawyer, should first of all lose his license if something like that is even on the horizon. But number two, the family members would be very, very, well justified to turn this guy into alligator food. I really just, that's what I think.
I still don't understand why the judge doesn't throw out the petition to try to change custody.
I don't know either. It might be the lawyers, it might be the judge. I just don't know. It's a crazy case. I'm going to be looking more into it, but my guys over there are looking into it, so we'll see.
All right. And you're right. The Hague Convention has all kinds of horror stories. This is even worse. Anything else you wanted to add? I'm done.
What else do we have? What other stories did I have this week? Oh, yeah. We'll talk a little bit about the New York major auto, that case. That actually came out of a family court case. And it's
New York.
The major auto, the guy with the Bruce Bendel and Brad Vidal, those guys. You should check it out. It's on Facebook. Probably I put it out from New York News Press. I put that on the 21st. That should be there. So I'll talk about that and the article before it from March 20th about the gag order in New Jersey. It's related. Those are the related case from the Vidal case, the J. Bradley Vidal, the guy in New Jersey. So I'll go into that. We know from last week that I was mentioned, or my publications were my my Substack and Family Court Circus and New York News Press were mentioned in an attempt to gag me. They wanted to gag me for talking about Judge Bogart, New Jersey, talking about Brad Vidal, who is
that's this article.
Yeah, he's a police supplier. So he is that. This is the censorship update. So this case is going to go. That's the guy right there, J. Bradley Vidal. That's going to go in front of the judge on March 31st. Okay, to see whether or not they should have some type of prior restraint. Or not even prior restraint. It's not even at that point, but whether the judge can order, me and other people to take down what we said about these people. The judge already ruled, I think quite correctly, that it's not an emergent application. This isn't an emergency. And on the 31st, when you come to court for the other, 9 motions that you have, we'll do those motions. But I don't think this motion is going to go anywhere. But the fact that they had the temerity to talk about it, it goes about this guy, Brad Vidal. Now, go back to the one on the 22nd, the next article about his business relationship. This guy's a powerful guy who has spent the last 30 years in the police supply business and the vehicle supply business. And what I did was I did a little bit of investigative reporting on this case, and I dug into who his business partners were. And when you look and see who his business partners are, it gets to be very dicey.
Yeah, I don't see anything from the 22nd talking about the guy.
On the one with the March 22nd case, major police supply corruption.
I don't see that. I don't see that.
Are you on my Facebook page?
I'm not on your Facebook.
On my Substack page?
Yeah, I'm on your major police supply.
You go on that one. That is Brad Vidal, and he's got a business partner named Bruce Bendel. And Bruce Bendel is well known because Bruce Bendel is a major scumbag. Okay, and so this guy, the story of Brad Vidal is this: he was an elected official in New Jersey, and he started in the car dealership. And that's Bruce Bendel. And so what they did was they supplied cars for fleets for municipalities. So all sorts of places, for the cops, for the firefighters, for all sorts of things. Like in New York City, the big one, they have a place called DCAS, was one of the departments that does all the procurement. And then they have to be them specified related to all the needs of the different places. So what Bruce did was, Bruce goes to Brad. Brad leaves the place and it's Major World. Bruce owned Major World, or owned him and his brother for many, many years, Major World Auto. And so he basically, he was preying on low-income immigrant car buyers with these exorbitant, usurious type situations. And so what happens is, he's been crooked for many, many years. So Brad and Bruce met in the late 80s, and they had a handshake deal. And the way that the municipal supply works is you have a 90 or 180-day billing cycle with these cars. And so you got to front that money to deliver the inventory. So Bruce goes in and says, okay, we'll get you the deal. You work out all the supply. We'll work it through Major, and I'll front you the money or the inventory to do this, to supply everything. And then when you get paid out, and in return, we got a handshake. I'm getting 25% of the deal. I'm not just getting 25% of the deal. I'm getting 25% of the deal forever. That's what I want. I want it forever. So he owns 25% of the business starting in the late 80s. And this is what's been going on. Now, Bruce gets himself into federal trouble. And this is what I sent him. With his cash handshake deal, he had a tax case, him and his brother, with the federal government, something like $36 million in taxes that he owed. And basically, he never reported this handshake deal with Brad Vidal or any of the other deals that we have. But we have all the records that show that this guy was paid 25% of the take for the last 30 years from this business and a whole bunch of other businesses. So this guy, Bruce Spindell, apparently has lied to the federal government when he did his plea to the feds to say, I got a tax. I'm going to take care of my taxes. Here's all my stuff, this, that, and the other thing. So we're trying to get to the bottom of this. I talked to a couple of people in NYPD. One of the guys, Bob Martinez, and I'm going to be coming out with that interview the next day or two. He gave some greater amplifications. I talked about it in there as somebody that Brad Vidal dealt with, and the people that I spoke to have said that and have confirmed that Brad Vidal overstated his connection with the NYPD. And Bob Martinez is a decorated cop who was able to confirm that. But this is a nest of fraud. It's a huge nest of fraud where you have millions of dollars that were never reported to the federal government in the tax case related to Bruce Spindell, who was a supplier to the city of New York. And actually, Major World continues to be a supplier even after they know about this tax case, even after they know that he was defrauding people. And they said that Bruce Spindell is no longer part of Major Auto and supplying millions of dollars of money to municipalities, not just the New York City Police Department or the city of New York, but people throughout New Jersey, throughout, down to Maryland, Florida, all around the country. And it's a nest of fraud. It really is. And so we're peeling away the onions on it. So read that first article about the Major Auto. I have some more coming out about this. I'm going to do an in-depth on this because this is the guy Vidal. That's the engine of this family court fight. The engine of the family court fight is a fraudulent business apparatus that he's put together. And we're going to delve into the fraudulent business apparatus and show that this guy who's in court running to try to silence journalists, who's running around trying to basically vilify his ex-wife, it's part of a pattern of behavior where he's a ruthless bastard. He really is. He doesn't. He'll lie, cheat, and steal. It looks like to get what he wants. He won't play by the rules, and it looks like he hadn't played by the rules with his business partner, and he sure as hell hadn't played by the rules of the First Amendment with journalists. So we're going to have a full expose on this guy, but that was the first real major piece in it.
And Wayne Dolcefino, who we talked about earlier, has been investigating a guy named Ali Chowdhury, and basically somewhat similar, a divorce opened up his corrupt and fraudulent business dealings. That's a case near Houston. So check that out. And now we are done. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back next week.